Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life. Federally insured by the NCUA.
1370 WOCA. Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. So, the other day, I was standing at my sink, Robin. And I was standing in my socks, so I wasn't wearing any shoes. I was wearing my socks, and my socks got wet. I said, now, how did water get on the floor there? How did that happen? I thought first I was going to blame the dog. And but then I looked under the sink, and sure enough, there was a tiny, tiny, tiny little stream of water. I mean, tiny little. It would take 100 years to fill up a swimming pool, or whatever. I'm trying to give you the idea that it was very tiny. And I thought, this can't wait. This has to be fixed right now. If I don't fix this right now, this is going to be a mess. Even though it's a tiny little thing of water, something is broken in there. So I fixed it. Long story short, when we think about the large picture, the country, the world, and we recognize that we've got some leaks, some things that need to be fixed, right? I might use leak as a metaphor.
Yeah.
You have to wonder, like, who's fixing them? You can do your part, but on a big scale, who's fixing them? Who's going to do something about? And this goes back to the 70s when I used to fly more than I do. I don't fly much anymore, but back in those days I did, and I would land in LA and I would see the air, and I would land in New York and I would see the air from the sky. When you're looking at it's like a dome of dirt in the air. It's like the Charlie Brown character. You remember Charlie Brown? Pigpen, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not just that. It's other things, some political things, some environmental things. What could go wrong if we don't fix them? Well, if I didn't fix that leak, what could go wrong? Everything could be flooded eventually, right?
Exactly.
Emilio Iodice has looked at this from a bigger perspective, and he's written a novel, really well-written novel. It's called Future Shock. It is, it's fiction, but it's based on facts. Emilio is a senior executive in the public and private sectors. He's a key official in Washington, D.C. for several administrations, the most decorated Foreign Service officer in American history with a gold medal for heroism. He also received the gold medal and silver medal for exemplary service, nominations for the bronze medal, numerous commendations and citations. My goodness, what credentials. So let's pay attention to his point of view that he's expressing in the novel about the leak under the sink, which is I'm using as my metaphor. Emilio, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Larry. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm fine, and I love that metaphor of the leak under the sink because it does play right into my book, which is called Future Shock 2.0, The Dragon Brief 2020, and I've just written another one as well called Profiles in Leadership from Caesar to Modern Times. And these two books really focus on the leaks, which will become floods and will become uncontrollable in the future. Future Shock talks about the gigantic issues that we're facing right now and what will happen if we do little or nothing about them. The environment, global terrorism, pandemics, the economy, and how the economy is unraveling around the world. It's incredible. This is all happening simultaneously. In the past, we were able to deal with wars by themselves. We were able to deal with the big issues of the environment by themselves. We were able to deal with the Spanish influenza, polio, and so forth by targeting these things and dealing with them vertically. We can't do that anymore because we're in a horizontal world where all these things are happening at once, and the leadership that we need has to be able to handle all of this at the same time. We don't have it. We don't have it, Larry.
Well, yes, I do agree with you, but I also look back to the John Kennedy statement, ask not what you can do, but what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So if we truly are people of the people, now I don't think the rest of the world is going to jump on board this, but and we've become very lazy, lackadaisical maybe is a more accurate word, because we do say, okay, what are you going to do about it, when really we should all be doing something about it. The problem is that part of our role is to convince those who we've elected, and they don't listen.
Yes, for sure.
Right. Exactly. And that's why you've hit upon it by mentioning Kennedy. We need to take a bottom-up approach. It has to be from the people to the top. Up to now, it's been top-down, where we're told what kind of leaders we should have, what qualities we should have. We have to raise the bar as high as we can, and we have to insist on certain qualities in our leaders, our presidents, and the governments that they surround themselves with, the people that they bring into office. We don't elect just one president, we elect a whole government. So we really have to be working from the bottom up, from the school all the way to the top, and to express ourselves and tell our leaders of the future, we want you to be this, we want you to have these traits to tackle these problems.
Absolutely.
So we have to take control of the process. We really do.
You do a wonderful job in itemizing different types of scenarios that occurred in history. I like the fact that you put Rachel Carson in your book, because she really was a visionary way back when about the environment, about keeping the springs clean.
Absolutely. We were fortunate that she had the courage to not only launch her book, but also launch her mission. She was very, very courageous, and it was people like that that actually helped us turn a page on the environment in the 60s when we started formulating EPA and the laws that came about to protect our environment. None of these things were easy, but it took people who were vocal, people who were saying that we had to change. My book is about a wake-up call, and it's about the problems that we're facing today, but they hark back all the way to 1962 to Rachel Carson. So many things are still there, but now it's bigger. It's bigger and it's more serious, and that's why I dwell on the human drama as well in the book, about what happens to human beings. It's not just scientific evidence. The scientific evidence that oftentimes puts people to sleep. We all know about the melting of the glaciers. But what about that girl at the Chinese factory that is misused and is oftentimes neglected? And the man who is a Chinese fisherman or a fisherman in Washington State that no longer has any fish beds to fish because of pollution. They can't breathe the air in certain parts of the world. We have cancer villages in places like China. We have the same problems we're facing everywhere.
Yeah.
And yet, we're not really seriously doing anything about them.
I think you're right, but I also want to argue just a little bit, because when you say we're not doing anything about it, well, you are. I mean, your book shows us some of these things, and there are so many people who have the talent you have, the talent of writing. You know that cliche, the pen is mightier than the sword? That's really how we're going to move people, is with writings like yours. There's a local lady, I don't think she's with us anymore, but her name is Marjorie Harris. We had at one time here in Florida. Where are you calling from, by the way? Where are you?
I'm calling from Rome, Italy, by the way.
You're in Rome?
Wow.
Holy mackerel.
How cool is this?
Wow. Is that where you live?
On the other side of the world.
Is that where you live?
This is where I live. Yes, sir, this is where I live.
I want to go to Rome. I've always wanted to go to Rome.
You'll have a house.
Well, anyway,
come and visit me.
So I don't know if you know, we're in Florida. Okay. So back in the...
Yes, sir, I know that.
I don't know if it was the 40s, but we had this plan to put a canal that would go across Florida. Now, Florida's got this very fragile underground water system that is called the aquifer. I suppose aquifers are all over the world. But if they had dug that canal, they would have literally shattered the rock that holds it together. And what that would have done is it would have taken salt water from the ocean and the Atlantic and salt water from the Gulf on the west side of the state, and it would have gotten into the very water we drink. And so there was this lady, one lady, and she wrote. I don't know if she wrote books like you do, but her name is Marjorie Harris, and now she put a stop to it. So one person stood up and said, "We can't have this." And of course, just like you have today, people with money interests were making her seem like a nutcase and et cetera like this. But still, she's the one we thank for the fact that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, that's what you're doing, Emilio. You're doing the same thing. You're writing a book saying, look, if we don't do this, it's not a leak under the sink. It's ruining the whole thing, everything. And there's another part of this too. And when you bring up terrorists, it's hard to know what to do with terrorists. And you sort of kind of say, well, let's leave that up to the Pentagon in America's case, leave it up to them. But then you always have to worry if there isn't somebody who also has money interests who's going to send us to war because somebody wants an oil field.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, You just don't know.
Right. And you don't know. And how do we deal with big issues like that? Well, we've learned as Americans we can't deal with them alone anymore because the world really is flat. And we have to build up coalitions of countries that have the same values as we do, take the moral high ground, and say, look, we're all in this together. Maybe it's 20, 25 countries, but we're all in this together. This is serious. How do we deal with it, whether it comes to the environment or whether it's terrorism? Whatever the issue is, we have to deal with it as a group because we do occupy this planet as a group, as one big community. We're not doing that effectively, in my view. But that's what needs to be done at the minimum, in order to deal with these problems.
We're going to take a little break, and we will be back. But real quickly, I have a personal question. Is Rome as sexy as it looks? Rome looks sexy to me.
It's more than that.
Really?
It's even sexier than it looks. It really is, Larry.
Is that why you moved there? Not saying. He's not saying.
One of the reasons.
Are you married?
The food.
Oh, the food. Are you married?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
I am.
So it's sexy for everybody else but you.
That's another one of the reasons why I moved here as well.
Oh, you married an Italian lady. Where did you grow up?
There you go.
Where did you?
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
I'm from the Bronx.
Oh, nice.
I'm just a kid from the Bronx.
I sort of could hear that. All right, we'll take a little break. This is an interesting conversation. So I do think we're doing something. I think you're doing something. Anybody who writes like you write is doing something. And the fact that you put it as a novel means more people are going to pick it up. That's what I think. More people will pick it up because it's a novel. So we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine will mix with clouds today. We'll see a thunderstorm this afternoon. High of 90 to 94 and a shower thunderstorm in the area tonight. Otherwise partly cloudy. Low 72 to 77. Tomorrow, sunny to partly cloudy. Thunderstorm around for the afternoon. High of 90 to 93. And another thunderstorm in parts of the area for Sunday along with some sunshine. High of 88 to 90. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
This is a public notice. Local residents can now save thousands of dollars on their next car, truck, or SUV. It's not a tent sale, because no tent is big enough to hold this many cars. It's OcalaForSale.com. Say goodbye to sticker shock. OcalaForSale.com has thousands of vehicles with no stickers at all. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge, undercutting, loss proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
Hi, Matt Wilkerson here, your mobile Verizon rep. But not just here, I'll deliver the phone to you in your home. While I'm there, I'll only sell you what you need and I'll personalize it to you. Want to have me get you connected? Then call me at 352-528-0020. I even offer unlimited home phone service for just $20 per month. Just call me, your mobile Verizon rep, at 352-528-0020.
If you're anything like I was, the thought of getting older was the last thing on your mind. But here we are. For me, it started slowly. The lack of energy, never being in the mood. And when I was, I could never perform at my best. I tried the pills and other treatments with minimal results, and all but given up on my sex life. Then I found the doctors at New Male Medical Center. Wow, they made a new male out of me. Feel like I'm 25 again. I have renewed vigor, so much more energy, and no longer worry about my performance. New Male treated me like my situation was one of a kind. With a custom treatment plan that really works, I feel great. They can create one for you too. It does not matter if you suffer from low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, or just want to last longer. New Male will help you.
Call New Male Medical Center today at 352-404-4779. 352-404-4779. That's 352-404-4779. It will change your life. 352-404-4779.
In 1870, federal legislation established July 4th as a national holiday. The Voice of South Marion wants to remind you of the freedom that it represents. Have fun and enjoy all the celebrations, but remember to keep it safe. Don't drink and drive, auto or boat. Be careful with fireworks and never allow youngsters to be unsupervised. Make this holiday one to remember for all the fun. Happy Independence Day from all of your friends at the Voice of South Marion. Oh, wow. 10 minutes before 10 o'clock, our guest is from the Bronx, but he lives in Rome, Italy. Emilio Iodice is on the phone. He's got so many credentials. He's a knight, Robin. He was knighted by one of the kings. Which king did I see here? The former king of Italy.
That is cool.
My goodness. My mother would have loved you. You know why? You wrote a biography of Mario Lanza. My mother was also from the Bronx, by the way. Well, she was originally from Germany, but she moved there when she was 3. Yeah. Yeah, and she loved Mario Lanza. So you must have loved him too, I'm guessing.
Oh, I did. Yeah, Lanza represents passion for me, and I hope that a new generation would really get to enjoy his wonderful qualities, just like your mother did.
Well, and with technology, we can clean up all those old audio tapes. I've heard it done. I haven't heard it on his. I guess somebody probably did it by now, but like some of those old tapes that used to have a lot of hiss and crack and all that other stuff on it, now they're cleaning them up and they sound like they were recorded today with today's technology. But anyway, in the book 1984, I remember like when it was 1986, they said, well, I guess he got that wrong. No, he got it all right. He just got the year wrong. That's all. Mm-hmm. So when you say 2020, I mean, you could be dead on about some of these things, and whether it's in, what is that, 5 years from now? So whether it's 5 years from now or 25 years from now, it's still something we need to be aware of and careful of, and let's hope that you're wrong. Let's hope this is a wake-up call that we say, thank God he had the wake-up call.
Absolutely. I'm the first one that hopes that everything I've written is wrong. Unfortunately, I started writing this book several years ago, and as I was writing it, I realized that the things that I was predicting were actually happening, and that's what frightened me. So I saw this, and I said, oh, my God, these things are actually happening, and they're happening even faster than I expected. So I hope that they never occur. But what one thing is obvious is that if we don't do enough to change the direction we're heading in, we will get there. We will get exactly what I'm writing about in the book. And it's very, very clear to me, and we will see this. For instance, I talked about the euro. I already wrote this a year ago about what was happening to the euro. Well, now it's happening.
Look what's happened.
And by 2017, it'll probably evaporate within a year or two. And this is what the best observers are saying. So the same thing will happen with the environment and other areas. We will lose control of the future, Larry. That's the risk we're taking, losing control of the future.
Do you think that America, because we focus on America because we are Americans, but do you think we're doing very, very poor, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being miserable and 10 doing perfectly? Do you think we're 5 or 6? Is China doing worse than us? Are we, in other words, are we trying at least? It seems like we're trying. I mean, it seems like we've got so many things. We've got so many watchdogs. We've got so many people who will point out right away the things that we're doing wrong. I think we're very cautious about, emissions and except we're kind of weak in some very serious ways. I don't know if you like Donald Trump or not, but when he was talking about LaGuardia Airport, the infrastructure needing repairing, he was really dead on with some of those things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, a lot of the presidential candidates that we have out there now are saying things that are right. And some are saying things that are wrong, but some are saying things that are legitimate, and we have to listen to them as well, especially as we go through this process of selecting our new leaders. We have to listen, but we have to insist that they have a number of qualities that are vital for us to deal with these big problems, Larry. If we don't insist on it and we don't pick and choose carefully, we will not have the leaders that we need to handle the global problems, because America is still the global leader. The world looks to us. The Italians look to us for guidance. The Supreme Court decision on same-sex marriage that just occurred. Whether you're for it or against it, that's not the issue. But the newspapers here and the newspapers all across the globe are filled with it. And they reflect our opinion. And they're saying, well, this is what the Americans are doing. We should take this very seriously. So we are the beacon in the darkness. We're the lighthouse.
Yeah, but I bet you nobody
not perfect,
but nobody in Italy is flying the Confederate flag. This is my thinking.
Some are flying the old flag before before World War II. But very few are flying the Confederate flag. Very few.
You bring up the atomic bomb. You bring up Iran and you have a lot of insight in Iran.
Yes, I do, because again, the book is a work of fiction based on fact. Future Shock 2.0, The Dragon Brief 2020 is, as I said, it's fictional, but there are facts here. We talk about the risk of a nuclear war if we don't get it right. So we're working on an agreement with the Iranians today. Well, we have to have an agreement that is a good one, that's an effective one, that prevents what is the risk, what is the inevitability of all of this. And if we don't do it, well, we set ourselves up and the rest of the world up for nuclear war. And somebody could say, well, that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think it's ridiculous. More countries have nuclear weapons, the more the possibilities. We were saying during World War I and before World War I and then after World War I, well, if everybody's armed to the teeth, we won't have another war. That hasn't been the case historically.
And Hitler really didn't do what he did because of superior weapons. Hitler did what he did because he mobilized the people to somehow latch on to that idiotic ideology he had. I mean, it's just amazing to me how sheep we are, and we're all potential sheep.
Yeah.
If we don't think for ourselves and remind ourselves we have to think for ourselves. I love this conversation. You're a deep thinking man, and your thoughts are important for all of us.
Wonderful book.
The book is really well written. It is fiction. It is a good story. So for the listeners' sake, we kind of haven't been fair to the book. Can you give us a movie trailer version of the story?
The book begins very quickly with the facts. The introduction is all about the Rachel Carsons. It's about the White House report on the environment, also about the political issues that we face today with campaign financing and so forth, and the economic problems that we face, and also pandemics and so forth. So that's the introductory part, all the facts. Then we get into the fiction. The fiction begins in the White House in 2020 on Columbus Day, October 12th, 2020. The President of the United States has assembled her National Security Council in the bowels of the White House, and she gives them a red book. And the book is called The Dragon Brief. And it's about what's happening in the world at that moment, where there's a siege of Washington going on. There are millions and millions of migrants coming in over the southern border and over the European border uncontrollably. The world is collapsing economically, and terrorism has spread to such an extent where it's completely uncontrollable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And China is going through a revolution. And that's why we call it The Dragon Brief, because the book dwells a lot on China. Yeah. And then as she leaves them to read the book and goes on to a safe haven, abandoning Washington, a safe haven in the mountains of the Blue Ridge, the book opens up, and then there's one story after another about human drama all happening on October 12th, 2020, all about stories, and then it ends with hope about how we get out of this mess.
Emilio,
how do we get out of it?
Emilio Iodice, thank you so much for being on the air. We have a copy of the book. Call me if you want it. We've got half a minute. Do you have a website we can go to get the book?
All my books, all 5 of them, are on my Author Central, but it's under my name, Emilio Iodice, on Amazon.com. They're all there.
Okay, Iodice. Emilio, thank you so much for getting up in Rome. That was kind of cool. Thank you, Emilio. We'll be right back.
Thank you. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Robin.
Ocala,
Thank you.
Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. No specific threat, but there is extra vigilance by law enforcement this 4th of July holiday.
ISIS has asked its followers using social media to really step up their attacks during the holy Islamic month of Ramadan, which doesn't end until July 17th. Now, again, the concern is ISIS is known for their social media savvy, could inspire somebody here in the United States to perhaps attack.
Fox's Brian Yennis. Germany's foreign minister demanding some answers after new allegations of U.S. eavesdropping on senior government officials' phones. WikiLeaks had published a list of German phone